Another state representative has taken up the issue of webcasting from the Roundhouse. Some state lawmakers balked at live webcasting of the full House and Senate proceedings, even though the legislature okayed the idea and appropriated money for it a couple of years ago. Representative Janice Arnold-Jones from Albuquerque is a member of the Tax and Revenue Committee, and she says she's going to plug in a webcam so you and I and everyone else can see what's happening when that committee meets. So it looks like we may finally have webcasting in the Roundhouse.
Well, I would say certainly not the route that I thought we would go, but indeed, we will.
Now, you're going to webcast the Tax and Revenue Committee meetings. How will that work?
Well, there is a narrow line here, and there are rules. So, in service to my constituents, and I do meet with them every Saturday, and they really wanted this, I will be using a very small web camera with a really good microphone, and it will go to a website, civicplaza.net, that is linked to my website.
Civicplaza.net.
There is, however, a caveat about doing it on the floor. And on the case of the House, let me just say that, webcasting the floor, at least early on, would be just amazingly boring for the viewers because we really do the work in the committees.
Well, that was my first impression, too, that seeing the full session is going to be kind of tedious, isn't it?
Right, and these early weeks, what we are doing is introducing legislation, and it looks like people are just standing around talking while they're talking about the legislation, but that's what it looks like, is that we're all just visiting, but that's the process. So, but towards the end, I am hoping that we will be able to also webcast, with permission, the floor sessions.
Now, you're going to use, you say, a very simple webcam, so we can't expect a dynamic picture.
No, and at this moment, and unless I can find somebody else to help me, you will get a one-camera view. But you will be able to hear, and you will be able to see. But it won't be great.
But at least it'll be something.
Yes, sir.
When do you plan to start this?
Monday. And I was ready to go this Wednesday, but our committee meetings did not meet to organize. And so Monday will be the first organizational meeting of Tax and Revenue.
The plan to put up webcams in general at the Roundhouse was funded several years ago, was it?
Right. Oh, yeah.
The money was appropriated. The cameras were purchased. Why didn't it happen?
The leadership, and I, since I was not there in that particular meeting, but the leadership, even though I want to point out that this was voted on by both bodies and signed by the governor, but they decided to have the cameras taken down. And I'm guessing, and here are the arguments against broadcasting, is that people will not understand when there are filibusters and why that happens. It will change the body, and people will grandstand. That the camera operators could give a false impression of what is happening. For example, instead of watching the speaker, that you might be watching the crowd, or, for most of us, to take the camera off of the actual discourse and watch somebody picking their nose. Nobody wants that. And I don't think those are good enough reasons to keep our citizens from participating.
Well, the C-SPAN model works pretty well. No one gets distracted there, do they? Well,
part of the C-SPAN model is if you really want to stand up and do speech making, there is a special time for you to go do that. There's nobody there, and now they actually show that there's nobody there. That's the type of deception that I think people are worried about. For me, I have kind of a set of standards, and one is that you should have an accurate depiction of what is happening in our committee. Are there a lot of people there, or are there not a lot of people there? And then my own standard is that the video will follow the speakers, and that I will follow the due process. For example, people speak when they are called upon. If there's somebody who is speaking out of turn in the back, it's not my job, and nor do I intend to give them airtime when that's not appropriate.
How do your fellow committee members feel about this? Are they anxious to be on webcast?
This is something, because this is so dicey, I did not want to pull in my fellow committee members pro or con, because if there is any backlash, it should be mine and mine alone.
Do they know about it? Do they know they'll be seen on Monday?
Yeah, I believe most of them know.
State Representative Janice Arnold-Jones will be watching on Monday. Many thanks.
Bye.
Separately, KUNM in Albuquerque says it plans to webcast general session audio on its website beginning next week.